So I'm in Craig of Lemac Farm. My in-laws have been here for numerous years, numerous decades, and I've sort of come in quite late, probably since 2016. So our farm size is about 7,000 hectares, and we're situated northwest Victoria, so a place called Coolanong, which is 66 k's north of Swan Hill. We predominantly have a dune swale system with lots of deep sand, which can limit our potentials to grow numerous crops such as lentils and chickpeas. So yeah, we've got a pretty large farm and we're trying to manage deep sand situations and the inclement weather. Our biggest constraint with farming in the Mallee at Coolanong is obviously the balance between being a big farm and getting the job done, and actually versus the quality of the farm and doing the best job possible. So when we deal with deep sands, we have a couple of things that's absolutely beautiful soil type, but without water we can't grow a number of crops, and they don't establish always at the perfect timing. So trying to find the right crop type that establishes and makes the most water use efficiency and also profit, it's a bit of a challenge. So we have found that crop type, rainfall, and also just soil fragility are our biggest constraints. In terms of our constraints, they probably are very representative of the Mallee. Certain parts of the Mallee have got heavier soil types and more subsoil constraints, but certainly as you head to the northern Mallee and central Mallee, you will find dune swale systems pose many challenges. I think it's an ongoing challenge for Mallee farmers to continue to manage hills and push the boundaries. Farming has got pretty tight with expenses to try and squeeze out as much profit as we can sustainably, and I think every farmer is trying to juggle this beautiful landscape we live in and preserve it whilst making profit. And I think every farmer, no matter where they are in the Mallee, are balancing that act. We have seen pretty big advances in no-till and stubble retention in the last decade, and we're now moving to the next step that we need to go for. So we're at that critical stage, I think, where we're juggling that in a probably a changing climate. And I guess the way we know that's relevant is where farmers are always talking about it, where likes of Virtual Cropping Group have events. They're topics that are always coming up there, and farmers, when we talk about it, we're constantly trying to work out ways how we manage our sandhills, whether it's controlled traffic, whether it's stubble retained, growing different crops, nitrogen, sulphur management, herbicide residues is another thing that we're sort of dealing with. So it's an ongoing issue, and I don't think anyone's sort of got the silver bullet yet, but I think we're all working towards a common goal. So BCG came to me and about how we're managing the sandhills and sort of talk about the best practices we have in place and what practices we might like to explore heading forward. So as part of this CMA project, we're trying to identify seeding rates in this year, particularly in 2023. We've had plenty of soil moisture, and we've had a very dry period since early April. So chasing seedbed moisture whilst maximising vigour and crops has been a bit of a challenge for us this year. Seeding rates are one thing we can achieve, and probably bump up the seed rate to accommodate for some lack of tillering. We also change phosphorus rates and stuff like that. So in this particular project at our farm, we've decided to look at seeding rate and nitrogen management, because with a seasonal outlook like it is, plenty of soil moisture, you've sort of got the double-edged sword. You either go hard with nitrogen to maximise your yield, or do you play it a bit safer and tailor nutrients when you need it. So that's what we're sort of doing on this sandhill. We're also looking at maybe some other establishing crops in our pasture paddock, what pasture options we might be able to see fit for this region that can contribute nitrogen and benefit subsequent rotations. Whether bicerula might have a bit of a fit, we're still trying to work that out. And lupins, of course, whether we can get some better establishment of lupins. So there are a couple of things we're looking at the project. This particular paddocks we looked at have been deep ripped. We're using a Morris 80-foot seed bar, which also had paired rows. So if we're talking about improving establishment, paired row systems has been shown to be very effective at getting establishment of plants. So we're hoping with those two practices already in place, these other things might be a good topic of discussion and points or evidence to put behind this project.